This Samsung dryer is such a piece of shit. I have been inside of it I don't know how many times. My number one complaint are these stupid plastic retainers that hold rollers and wheels and pulleys onto shafts. Garbage. Whoever designed this, whoever put this into production, whoever tested this and said this was acceptable, they should be not just fired, but shot. I'm in here again, and that plastic retainer has broken off, and the shaft has actually worn like this freaking bearing into this like tapered shape. I don't even know if you can see that in the camera. There's got to be like a 10 degree or a 15 degree angle right there. Total garbage. I'm putting a bearing and an actual snap ring on this thing with a thrust washer, the way it should have been done. So there's 4 of these like candy ass rollerblade wheels inside of the dryer, and then here's this POS cheap plastic retainer that keeps failing on the belt tensioner pulley. I hope after I'm done inside this dryer, one of these doesn't give out and make me go back inside this thing again. Alright, I'm going to pull this old bushing out of this old original equipment wheel. You can see it's cracked. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a 24mm socket, that on top of the 24mm socket. We're going to beat out the old bushing on this one like that. I'm going to move that bushing into here and use that idler pulley. Okay, so this is the Samsung original equipment belt tensioner pulley and bushing. This is an aftermarket belt tensioner and the bushing that went inside of that pulley. They're two different things. This one's very plain, therefore the idea of that pulley is plain. This guy's got like splines on it, so the inside of this thing has some splines on it. This doesn't fit inside of here. I'm gonna worry about that in a second. But here's the plan. This is the bracket. This is the Samsung bracket that held on to that belt tensioner. So in order for this hack to work, your belt tensioner pulley and the belt tensioner bushing are going to have to be in pretty good shape. But basically, when that bushing and that pulley are on that shaft, there's some room there. There's room for a tight-fitting flat washer, and there's room for a snap ring. I got it out of a snap ring kit like that. Anyways, if you can take a look, I got just enough room for a snap ring on there. With that washer, it's going to act as a thrust washer. I'm going to put some grease on the shaft and the idea of that bushing before I put everything together. This is going to last a hell of a lot longer than that cheap plastic crap that Samsung put in your dryer. Alright, here's the next thing that we're going to do. Understand that if you had your original belt tensioner and everything was in good shape, it was just that plastic clip that broke inside the dryer, you wouldn't have to do what I'm doing right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically put the bushing that went inside that belt tensioner onto a 1/2-inch bolt, and then I'm going to run like a nut onto it, and I'm going to tighten it onto this bolt so that when I spin this in a drill, I can accurately take away material in the OD of that bushing on a bench grinder. Yeah, you get the idea. This works better than it looks, trust me. Alright, so I took off about 100 thou, 75 thou. I got 795 thousandths, 795, 796, 794, 794. You got a few thou taper. Good enough. It fits like easily into here, except for, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's like a little low spot in the ID of this pulley. I'm gonna grind that away with a Dremel, make this fit a little better. Put a little bit of 5-minute epoxy in here. This will be good to go. All right, I didn't use any epoxy. I just hammered the bushing in there at the size that you saw until the bushing is just proud on the front face, and the bushing is proud on the front face, or the back face of the pulley. This is like a lot more flexible plastic than the Samsung one was. The Samsung one cracked. That's why I got rid of it. So if you're using, you wouldn't be doing any of this if you had the original Samsung pulley that was still usable. But I'm just letting you know this one's a lot more flexible, so I felt like it was safe to just beat it in there with a hammer. Alright, cleaned it off. A little bit of Lucas green and tacky, whatever the heck that grease is called, the green stuff. Gonna drop that there. No! Amateur. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on the thrust washer, since I pushed most of it back, pushing the pulley onto the shaft. I'm gonna drop that there. Snap ring. Come on. Alright, snap rings in there. There you go. That'll last forever compared to the junk that was inside of that dryer.